On July 19, 2017, Ryan Torres launched his drone over Six Rivers National Forest to capture his girlfriend's smile. The footage sat unwatched in cloud storage for 3 years. When his sister finally opened the file in June 2020, it showed something impossible, their killer following them completely unaware he was being filmed. The drone recorded 47 minutes that day, Emma and Ryan hiking toward Eagle Falls, laughing, planning their future. Alive, and in the background, frame after frame, a white truck, a figure with binoculars, someone watching. The footage timestamp said 12:39 p.m., but Brian Vaughn had told police he passed them going the opposite direction at 11:00 a.m. One of these facts was a lie. For 1095 days, two families lived in the hell of not knowing. Patricia Hayes stood by her phone every Sunday at 6 p.m., waiting for a call that would never come. Sophie Torres searched her brother's apartment monthly, hoping for some missed clue. Detective Kimura kept their case file on his desk, refusing to let it go cold. They had no bodies, no witnesses, no answers, just a blue Toyota 4Runner sitting empty in a trailhead parking lot. Then a cloud storage notification changed everything. You'll see how a drone became the witness no one knew existed. How 47 minutes of footage captured not just their final hike, but the moment that would destroy their killer's alibi. And how one timestamp, 12:39:45 p.m., proved Brian Vaughn had been there all along. This is the Redwood Creek case, the couple who disappeared into the forest, the sister who never stopped searching, and the technology that brought them home. Six Rivers National Forest, Humboldt County, California. July 19, 2017. The coastal fog comes in thick that morning, the kind that erases the mountains and turns redwoods into ghosts. Emma Hayes wakes at 5:47 a.m., 13 minutes before her alarm, and lies still, listening. Ryan's breathing beside her, slow and even. The coffee maker she preset last night hissing to life in the kitchen. Morning sounds. Friday sounds. July 19, 2017, which will be the last normal day of many lives, though Emma doesn't know this yet. She reaches for her phone on the nightstand, checks the weather app. Clear by noon, temperatures climbing to 78, perfect hiking weather. She sets the phone down and touches the small constellation tattoo behind her left ear, Orion, her grandmother's favorite, a gesture she makes when she's anxious or excited. Today, it's excitement. Today, she's going to propose to Ryan at Eagle Falls. The engagement ring is hidden in her backpack. She's checked it 17 times in the last 3 days. Ryan stirs, opens his eyes, sees her awake, and smiles that slow, sleepy smile she fell in love with 3 years ago. Morning M, he says, only says this when they are alone, his private name for her. Morning. She pushes up her bun with both hands, that signature gesture. The one her friends could identify her by from a block away, and the loose tendrils fall around her face. Coffee's ready, you're the best. He reaches for her grandmother's watch on his nightstand. He's been keeping it there since Emma said it slides too much on her wrist during hikes. Checks the time, 5:52 a.m. We're right on schedule. They've planned this trip for 6 weeks. Emma made an itinerary, of course. She always does. Color-coded, printed, laminated. 6 hours of hiking to Eagle Falls, overnight camping, back to the trailhead Sunday morning. She's already left a sticky note with the route details on Sophie's door, another ritual making sure someone knows where they are. In the kitchen, Emma photographs her breakfast. Avocado toast, scrambled eggs, coffee in her favorite mug. Ryan watches her, shaking his head, grinning. For the gram, he asks. Always. She posts it. The last photo she'll ever upload, Eagle Falls today. So ready for this hike. 43 people will like it. 17 will comment. None of them will know they are looking at her last meal. Ryan loads his backpack. Tent, sleeping bags, water filtration system, first aid kit, and his newest toy, the DJI Mavic Pro drone he bought 6 months ago, the one he films everything with. Emma teases him about it. You're gonna be that guy on the trail, she says, the drone guy. I am absolutely going to be that guy. Confirms, adjusting his grandfather's University of Oregon class ring on his right hand, spins it 3 times, a comfort gesture. The lighting's gonna be perfect today. He doesn't know he's right. The lighting will be perfect, perfect enough to capture facial features from 60 feet up, perfect enough to identify a white Chevy Silverado, perfect enough to document a murder. At 6:34 a.m. they're packed. Emma does her final check, camera settings, twice. Water bottles filled, grandmother's watch, on her wrist now, sliding around the way it always does. She checks the clasp, taps her fingertips together, another habit, something she does when listening to instructions or thinking through plans. Ryan makes her coffee for the road, leaves it in her travel mug by the front door, their morning ritual. She kisses him, touches his beard. He trimmed it last Sunday like he does every Sunday. They're so ordinary in this moment, so perfectly, devastatingly ordinary. They carry their packs downstairs to the apartment parking lot. Sophie is waiting by her Subaru, leaning against the hood. She's been up since 5, couldn't sleep, for reasons she won't understand until much later. She watches Emma and Ryan approach and feels something twist in her stomach, that wrongness. "You made it," Sophie says, hugging her brother, then Emma longer. "You guys be careful out there." "We're always careful," Ryan promises. He adjusts his grandfather's ring again, 3 spins. "Besides, I've got the drone, guardian angel in the sky." Emma pulls Sophie into one more hug, their ritual. "I'll send you bird photos," Emma says. "You better." Sophie watches them load the 4Runner. Emma pushes up her bun. Ryan spins his ring, both of them smiling. Sophie's throat tightens with that inexplicable dread, but she doesn't say anything. What would she say? "Don't go because I have a bad feeling." At 6:47 a.m., they pull out of the parking lot. Emma leans out the window for their 2-finger salute wave goodbye. Sophie returns it, watching the blue 4Runner disappear around the corner. This is the last time she'll see them alive. The drive to Six Rivers National Forest takes 2 hours through winding coastal roads. Emma navigates. Ryan drives, listening to a true crime podcast at 1.5 speed. Emma texts her younger sister wildlife photos from the passenger window: 2 deer, a red-tailed hawk, wildflowers she can't identify. The last text goes out at 7:42 a.m. "Wish you could see this. Miss you already." Sophie will read it 8 hours later and feel something wrong twist in her stomach all over again. At 8:15 a.m. they pull into Ray's Gas and Grocery, the last outpost before the forest. The bell above the door chimes. Ray Nakamura looks up from behind the counter. "We'll remember them later because they seemed so happy." Emma buys trail mix, the kind with extra almonds. Ryan grabs beef jerky and 2 bottles of Gatorade. They stand at the register making small talk about the weather, about the hike, ordinary conversation that Ray will repeat to Detective Kimura 96 times over 3 years, searching for some detail he missed. "You two be safe out there," Ray says, handing Ryan the receipt. "Always are," Ryan promises. The security camera above the register captures them at 8:11 a.m., Emma pushing up her bun, Ryan spinning his ring, both of them smiling. The last confirmed sighting of them alive by anyone other than their killer. They arrive at the big flat trailhead at 9:30 a.m. The parking lot is nearly empty, just 2 other vehicles, a Subaru with Oregon plates, and a white Chevy Silverado parked at the far end. California plates, engine still ticking like it just arrived. Emma doesn't notice the Silverado. Why would she? It's a trailhead, trucks are normal. Ryan backs the blue 4Runner into parking spot 7. He always backs in, says it's easier to leave in a hurry if you need to. Emma laughs. "What emergency bears? You never know," he says, grinning. He locks the 4Runner, leaves her sunglasses in the cup holder, her trail guide in the door pocket. Everything exactly where they'll be found 4 days later when the search begins. At the trail entrance, Ryan unpacks the drone, sets it on a flat rock. Emma makes him pose with it for a selfie. She posts this to Trail Angel ready for takeoff. They start hiking at 9:47 a.m. The trail is well marked, ascending gradually through old-growth redwoods. The morning light filters through the canopy in those cathedral shafts that make Emma stop and stare. She takes 17 photos in the first half mile. At 10:45 a.m., Ryan launches the drone for the first time, that high-pitched buzz that will haunt Sophie for years. He flies it ahead of them, capturing establishing shots. The redwoods towering overhead, older than countries. Emma walking the trail, turning to wave at the camera, pushing up her bun with both hands. She's wearing tan Columbia hiking pants, turquoise REI shirt, red flannel tied around her waist, black Patagonia cap, grandmother's watch sliding around her wrist. Small silver hoop earrings. She checks the watch, 10:52 a.m., and smiles at something Ryan says. The drone records all of this, every gesture, every smile, every moment before. What it also records in the background in frames they won't notice while they're living this moment. The white Silverado pulling off onto a service road, a man getting out, watching them through binoculars, following at a distance. Brian Vaughn is 42 years old, maintenance worker for the Park Service. He knows these trails better than anyone. He's been planning this for 3 months, ever since he first saw Emma at the ranger station asking about camping permits. Since he convinced himself she looked like someone he used to know, someone who left him, someone he could make stay this time. But he doesn't know about the drone. Ryan keeps it flying, changing angles, capturing the forest from perspectives that make Emma gasp. "That's incredible," she says, watching the live feed on his controller screen. "We're like ants. Beautiful ants," Ryan corrects. He's thinking about his novel, the one he's been writing for 2 years, thinking maybe he'll use this setting, thinking about the future in the way people do when they don't know they don't have one. At 11:15 a.m., they stop for water. Emma drinks from her Camelback. Ryan brings the drone back, lands it, conserves the battery. They hike on, following the trail markers deeper into the forest. The sun climbs, the temperature rises. Emma takes off her flannel, ties it tighter around her waist, checks her grandmother's watch, 11:47 a.m. They're making good time. Eagle Falls by early afternoon, sunset proposal, perfect. She touches the Orion tattoo behind her ear, making an important decision. Yes, tonight. She'll ask him tonight. Ryan hikes ahead, scouting the best route through a rocky section. His beard is damp with sweat. He wipes it with his left hand, 3 downward strokes always, and tilts his head to listen to the creek rushing somewhere to their left. "Water's close," he calls back, "maybe 2 miles to the falls." Emma's phone shows 11:52 a.m., no service. Hasn't had service since they entered the forest. She takes a photo anyway, the trees, the light. The beauty of this place that's about to become a crime scene. At 12:34 p.m., Ryan launches the drone again, wants to capture their approach to Eagle Falls. Emma protests, "You're gonna drain the battery," but he insists. "This is the good part, trust me." The drone rises, buzzes over the canopy, circles back to capture them from above, and this is when it records the sequence that will change everything. Timestamp 12:39:45 p.m. Emma and Ryan hiking toward the falls, visible on the trail. And 300 yards behind them, moving through the trees using a parallel path, a figure, male, following their exact trajectory, getting closer. The drone doesn't know this matters. It's just recording, capturing data, uploading to cloud storage in real time through Ryan's phone hotspot, a feature he enabled specifically for this trip in case they lost the drone and needed to recover the footage. The feature that will solve their murders 3 years later. Emma adjusts her backpack straps. Inside, water filter, emergency blanket, trail mix from Ray's first aid kit, and hidden in the internal pocket, wrapped in tissue paper, a white gold engagement ring with a small diamond. She doesn't know she'll never get to use it, that it will be found with her remains still wrapped. And Patricia will hold it and understand her daughter's final plan, and the grief will be different, sharper, knowing Emma had been so close to joy. Ryan brings the drone down at 12:47 p.m., packs it carefully. They're less than a mile from Eagle Falls now. They can hear it, the rush of water over stone, that eternal sound. "Almost there," Emma says and squeezes his hand. What she means is, almost to the moment I propose. What she doesn't know, she's almost to the moment everything ends. The forest is beautiful, the sun is bright, the trail is clear, and Brian Vaughn is closing the distance, moving faster now, no longer pretending to hike casually. He's been following them for 3 hours, watched them at Ray's through the store window, followed them to the trailhead, stayed back just enough. Emma pushes up her bun, both hands, signature gesture. Ryan spins his ring 3 times, comfort motion. These small movements, already captured on 47 minutes of drone footage, will identify them later. Will break Patricia's heart seeing them. Will make Sophie cover her mouth and gasp because that's them, that's really them, those are the gestures that made them who they were. At 2:17 p.m., Emma's grandmother's watch will stop. But right now at 12:52 p.m., it's still ticking, still measuring time, still pretending the future exists. They round the final bend. The sound of the falls grows louder, drowning out all other sounds. The trail opens onto a clearing. Eagle Falls cascades 50 feet over granite, sending up mist that catches the light and makes rainbows. It's breathtaking. Perfect, Emma breathes. She's right. It is perfect. It's the perfect place to propose. It's the perfect place to remember them. It's the perfect place for a drone to have documented their final approach. And Brian Vaughn is stepping out from behind the trees, 30 yards away, and Ryan sees him first and waves, friendly hiker to hiker, because they don't know yet, because the danger hasn't announced itself, because murderers don't always look like monsters. Emma turns, sees the man, smiles politely. And in the 90 seconds that follow, everything they planned, everything they hoped for, everything they were going to become, all of it ends. The call doesn't come. Patricia Hayes stands at her kitchen window at 6:00 p.m. on Sunday, July 23rd, phone in her hand. She's been standing here for 3 minutes watching the second hand on the wall clock tick past the 12. 6:01 now, 6:02. Emma always calls at 6:00 p.m. Every Sunday for 11 years since she left for college, no exceptions, not when she had the flu. Not when her phone died and she had to borrow a stranger's at a coffee shop. Not when she was camping in Yosemite with spotty service and had to climb to a ridge to get a single bar. 6:00 p.m. Sunday, mother-daughter call, their ritual. Patricia checks her phone, full bars, volume up, ringer on. She calls Emma's number. It goes straight to voicemail, that cheerful recording. Hey, this is Emma, leave a message and I'll call you back. She won't. Patricia tries Ryan's number, same thing, straight to voicemail. She tells herself it's nothing, they're camping, probably no service. They'll call tomorrow. Emma will apologize, say the service was terrible, say they lost track of time, but mothers know and Patricia knows. At 6:47 p.m. she calls Sophie. Have you heard from them? Patricia's voice is steady, too steady. The kind of steady that comes from forcing yourself not to panic. Not since Friday morning. Sophie says they were supposed to be back this afternoon, right? They should have been back by now. Patricia is pacing her kitchen. Emma always calls, always. Maybe they extended the trip, decided to stay another night. She would have told me. Patricia's grip tightens on the phone. She would have called. Sophie feels it too now, that twist, that wrongness. Let me try her. She does, gets voicemail, tries Ryan, voicemail. By 8:47 p.m. Both families are making calls to park rangers, to the sheriff's department, to anyone who might know something. The Humboldt County Sheriff's deputy who takes Patricia's call is patient but not concerned. Ma'am, they are adults on a camping trip. Cell service in 6 Rivers is spotty at best. I'm sure they're fine. My daughter calls every Sunday at 6, Patricia says, each word precise, controlled. For 11 years, she didn't call. Sometimes people lose track of time when they are. She didn't call. Something in Patricia's voice makes the deputy pause. What's your daughter's name? Emma Hayes, 29 years old. She's with her boyfriend, Ryan Torres. They went to Big Flat Trailhead on Friday morning. They were supposed to be back today. The deputy writes it down. I'll send a ranger to check the trailhead in the morning. If their vehicle is still there, we'll initiate a search. Morning feels like forever. Patricia doesn't sleep. She sits at her kitchen table with her phone, checking it every 3 minutes. Calling Emma's number every hour, listening to that voicemail greeting until she knows every inflection by heart. Carmen Torres, Ryan's mother, is doing the same thing 200 miles south, clutching her rosary, pressing the beads until they leave marks on her palm, praying in Spanish the prayers her own mother taught her. Por favor, Dios, por favor. At 7:15 a.m. on Monday, July 24th, a forest ranger named Marcus Webb drives to Big Flat Trailhead. The parking lot is quiet. Early morning mist hanging low. 3 vehicles, a Subaru with Oregon plates, owner already hiking, a Toyota Camry, owner fly fishing at the creek, and a blue Toyota 4Runner in spot 7, California plates, backed in, doors locked. Webb checks the windows, sunglasses in the cup holder. Trail guide in the backpacking permits visible on the dashboard. Emma Hayes and Ryan Torres overnight camping, return date July 22nd. 2 days ago. Webb calls it in at 7:43 a.m. By 9:00 a.m., the Humboldt County Search and Rescue Team is mobilizing. By 10:30 a.m., Patricia is on the road north, driving too fast, hands shaking on the wheel. By noon, the trailhead parking lot is full of emergency vehicles and the search has begun. Detective James Kimura arrives at 1:15 p.m. 38 years old, Humboldt County Sheriff's Department, 15 years in investigations. He's worked missing hikers before. Most of them turn up within 48 hours, injured, lost, embarrassed. But something about this case sits wrong in his stomach. Two people, experienced hikers according to their permits, well-equipped according to the ranger who checked their vehicle. And they are 4 days overdue now. Counting Friday departure. Kimura examines the forerunner, everything neat, organized, car in good condition, nothing suggesting panic or haste. The trail guide is bookmarked to the Eagle Falls Route 6, 2 miles one way, moderate difficulty, well-marked trail. He photographs the interior, documents what's there and what isn't. No phones, no wallets, no keys except the vehicle key. They took everything they'd need for overnight camping. The K-9 units arrive at 2:00 p.m., 2 bloodhounds best in Northern California. They pick up the scent immediately, Emma's shirt from her apartment, Ryan's jacket from his car. The dogs pull hard toward the trailhead, noses down, moving fast. Patricia watches from behind the police tape. She's been here for 2 hours, standing in the same spot, unable to move closer, unable to leave. Sophie is beside her, one arm around her shoulders. They'll find them, Sophie says, trying to believe it. Patricia says nothing, just watches the dogs disappear into the forest. The bloodhounds track the scent for 2-3 miles, then stop, circle, whine. The handlers push them forward. The dogs sniff the ground, the air, the trees, nothing. The scent just ends. That's impossible, one handler says to Kimura. Scent doesn't just vanish. They either got in a vehicle, went in water, or he doesn't finish. Doesn't need to. Kimura radios the search teams. Expand the grid. Check for any service roads, creek crossings, anything that might explain the scent loss. By 4:00 p.m., 200 volunteers are combing the forest. Local hiking clubs, community members, people who saw the news and drove up to help. They spread out in lines, calling Emma and Ryan's names, checking every trail junction, every clearing, every campsite. Nothing. The forest is vast. Old-growth redwoods create deep shadows even in daylight. The underbrush is thick. Someone could be 50 feet off the trail and be invisible. Patricia stands at the trail entrance, staring into the trees. Sophie has to physically pull her back when she tries to go in herself. "You can't," Sophie says gently. "Let them search. They know what they are doing." "My daughter is in there," Patricia whispers. "My baby is in there." At 6:00 p.m., exactly 24 hours after the missed call, Detective Kimura pulls his team together. "We're losing light. We'll resume at first light tomorrow with additional resources. I want helicopters, thermal imaging, and I want every service road in a 10-mile radius checked." He doesn't say what everyone is thinking, that with each passing hour, the chances of finding them alive drop exponentially. That night, Patricia and Sophie check into a motel 3 miles from the trailhead. Patricia lies in bed staring at the ceiling, phone on her chest, waiting for it to ring. It doesn't. Tuesday, July 25th. The search intensifies. Helicopters buzz overhead, more K-9 units from neighboring counties. Search and rescue teams rappelling down cliff faces, checking ravines. They find a campsite at mile 4-7, used recently, tent footprints visible, fire pit with fresh ash. "Could be them," the team leader tells Kimura. Timeline fits. They process the site, take samples, photograph everything, but there are no personal items, no identification. Thousands of people camp in 6 rivers every summer. This could be anyone. Wednesday, July 26th. The media arrives, news vans, reporters doing stand-ups with the forest in the background. Patricia and Michael Torres, Ryan's father, give a press conference. Patricia's voice is steady again. That terrible steadiness. "If you're out there," she says, looking into the cameras, "if you can see this, we're looking for you. We're not going to stop." The clip runs on every local news channel, gets picked up regionally. Emma and Ryan's photos flash on screens across California. Young, smiling, alive in those frozen moments. 10,000 people see it. 300 call in tips. None of them lead anywhere. Thursday, July 27th. Detective Kimura starts interviewing everyone who was at the trailhead Friday. The Subaru owner saw them briefly, said hello, hiked a different route. The Camry owner arrived after they'd already left. Anyone else there Friday morning? Kimura asks the ranger who was on duty. "A white Chevy Silverado maintenance truck," Ranger Webb says, checking his log. "Brian Vaughn, he does trail work for the Park Service." Arrived around 9:15. Left around 2:00 p.m. Kimura writes down the name. I'll need to talk to him. He finds Vaughn at the maintenance yard Friday morning, July 28th. Brian Vaughn is 42, divorced, lives alone in a cabin 15 miles from the park. He's cooperative, almost too cooperative. Yeah, I was there Friday, Vaughn says, checking trail markers on the Eagle Falls route. Saw the couple heading up around 11:00. Maybe 11:15, I was coming back down. You spoke to them. Just waved. They waved back, seemed happy. That's the last I saw of them. Kimura makes notes. What time did you leave the trailhead? Around 2:00. Had lunch in my truck first, then headed back to the yard. See anyone else on the trail? Not that I remember. It was a pretty quiet day. The story is consistent, straightforward. Vaughn maintains eye contact, doesn't fidget. Answers every question easily. Kimura's gut says something's off, but his gut isn't evidence. Would you be willing to take a polygraph? Kimura asks. Absolutely, Vaughn says, whatever helps. The polygraph happens Tuesday, July 29th. Vaughn passes, no deception indicated on any question. Where were you Friday? At the trailhead, then the maintenance yard. Did you see Emma Hayes and Ryan Torres? Yes, briefly, around 11:00 a.m. Did you harm them? No. Clean across the board. Kimura reviews the results with the examiner. You sure? Polygraphs aren't perfect, the examiner says, but he's showing no physiological indicators of deception. Either he's telling the truth or he's a psychopath with complete autonomic control. Kimura adds Vaughn's statement to the file. Cleared, not a suspect. It's the wrong call, but without evidence, it's the only call he can make. By Friday, August 4th, 2 weeks after the disappearance, the search starts to scale down. The volunteer numbers drop from 200 to 50 to 12. The helicopters are reassigned. The K-9 units go home. The forest has given up nothing. No bodies, no clothing, no equipment, no sign of Emma and Ryan beyond that 2-3-mile scent trail that ends at nothing. Patricia refuses to leave. She's rented a room at the motel indefinitely. Every morning, she drives to the trailhead, walks as far as they'll let her, calls Emma's name until her voice gives out. Sophie has to go back to work in San Jose. She hugs her mother in the motel parking lot and feels like she's abandoning her. I'll come back every weekend, Sophie promises. She's out there, Patricia says, not crying, past crying. My daughter's out there and I'm going to find her. Detective Kimura keeps the case active, follows up on every tip, checks missing persons databases, contacts hospitals, clinics, homeless shelters, nothing. By September, the case is cold. The file sits on Kimura's desk. He can't close it, can't move it to storage. Every morning he opens it, looks at their photos. Emma pushing up her bun, Ryan spinning his ring, 2 people who walked into the forest and vanished. Patricia calls him every week. Anything new? Not yet, he says, but I'm still looking. He means it. But the trail is ice cold, and with every day that passes, it freezes deeper. The forest keeps its secrets, and somewhere in the cloud, uploading in fragments over spotty service before the connection died, 47 minutes of drone footage sits unwatched. Waiting, the first year is survival, barely. Patricia stops working in October. Can't focus on selling houses when her daughter is missing. Can't smile at clients, can't negotiate offers. Can't pretend that square footage and school districts matter when Emma is gone. Her boss is understanding for 3 months, then sympathetic. Then she stops returning Patricia's calls. She doesn't care. She has Emma's college fund. It was supposed to be for a master's degree in environmental science. Now it pays for rent and groceries while Patricia dedicates every waking hour to the search that never ends. She organizes search parties every Saturday. The first one draws 63 people. The second, 41. By November, it's down to 11. By December, it's Patricia and Sophie and 2 volunteers who feel too guilty to stop showing up. The forest gives them nothing. Michael Torres hires a private investigator in September, a former FBI agent who specializes in missing persons. He charges $300 an hour and produces detailed reports that all say the same thing: no new leads. No evidence, no answers. By March, the checks start bouncing. Michael has remortgaged his house. The PI apologizes and stops working the case. Sophie drives up from San Jose every weekend, watches her mother deteriorate. Patricia has lost 23 pounds. Her hair is going gray at the temples. She wears the same jeans and flannel shirt week after week, Emma's shirt taken from her apartment. Still smelling faintly of her daughter's lavender shampoo, though the scent is fading. "You need to eat," Sophie says, putting a sandwich in front of her. Patricia stares at it. She might be hungry. "Mom, I know." Patricia's voice is hollow. "I know she's probably. I know, but what if she's not? What if she's out there and she's hungry and I'm here eating and she can't finish?" Just pushes the sandwich away. Detective Kimura visits the trailhead on the 19th of every month. Stands at parking spot 7 where the forerunner was. Walks the trail to the 2-3 mile marker where the scent ended. Asks himself the same question every time. What did I miss? He's reviewed the case file 217 times, interviewed Vaughn 3 more times, run background checks on everyone who was in the area that weekend. Nothing, no criminal records, no red flags, no evidence. Vaughn's alibi is solid. Multiple witnesses saw him at the maintenance yard that afternoon. His time card confirms he clocked out at 3:47 p.m. The polygraph was clean. But Kimura's gut still says something's wrong, he just can't prove it. The second year is when most people stop asking. Patricia's friends stop calling. Her sister stops inviting her to family dinners. When acquaintances see her at the grocery store, they suddenly remember something in another aisle. Nobody knows what to say anymore. "How are you?" Feels like cruelty. Any news? Feels worse, so they say nothing, just avoid her, and Patricia understands. She's become a walking reminder that terrible things happen, that daughters vanish, that prayers don't always get answered. She stops going out except to search. Her apartment becomes a shrine. Emma's photos cover every wall. The dining room table disappears under maps of 6 Rivers National Forest. Marked with search grids, trail maps, topographic surveys, she's divided the forest into sectors, researching each one obsessively. Mines, caves, abandoned structures, ravines deep enough to hide bodies. She knows the forest better than the rangers now, can recite elevation changes, creek patterns, seasonal flooding zones. She's become an expert in the geography of loss. Sophie tries to get her to see a therapist. Patricia goes once. The woman uses the term ambiguous loss, grief without closure, mourning without confirmation of death. Says it's one of the hardest psychological states to endure because the brain can't process an ending that hasn't been confirmed. "Your daughter might be alive," the therapist says gently, "but she also might not be. You're trapped between hope and acceptance, and that's where the real suffering lies." Patricia never goes back. She doesn't need a therapist to tell her she's trapped. She knows every Sunday at 6:00 p.m. she sits by her phone, waiting just in case. The ritual that was connection has become the ritual of absence, but she can't stop, won't stop, because the day she stops waiting is the day she admits Emma is never calling back. On particularly hard nights, she listens to a voicemail Emma left in March 2017. Just a quick message. "Hi mom, stuck in traffic, gonna be late for dinner. Love you." 37 seconds. Patricia has listened to it 643 times, knows every breath, every inflection. Sometimes she hears Emma's voice and it's a comfort, sometimes it's a knife. Both hurt. Carmen Torres spends the second year lighting candles. Every Sunday Mass she lights one for Ryan, prays for his soul, prays for his return, prays for an answer, any answer. The not knowing is killing her slower than grief would. She's worn the beads smooth on her rosary. The silver crucifix has lost its shine from her fingers constantly gripping it. Michael tells her she needs to let go. She tells him she can't. How do you let go of your son when you don't know if he needs you to hold on? The third year is when the case officially goes cold, not publicly announced, but detectives stop calling it active. It moves from Kimura's desk to a file cabinet, then to storage. The physical file anyway, Kimura keeps a copy on his desk. Against protocol, he doesn't care. Patricia calls him every Monday morning. Same question, anything new? "Not yet," he says, every week, 3 years of not yet, but I'm still looking. And he is, but he's also realistic. After 3 years with no contact, no sightings, no evidence, no ransom demands, the statistical likelihood of finding them alive is essentially zero. He doesn't tell Patricia this. Lets her keep hoping because what else does she have? July 19, 2019, the second anniversary of the disappearance. It rains hard, the kind of torrential summer storm that turns trails to rivers and floods the parking lots. Patricia drives to the trailhead anyway. Sophie begged her not to, but Patricia hasn't missed an anniversary yet. She parks in spot 7, the same spot where Ryan backed in the 4Runner, gets out in the rain without an umbrella, walks to the trail entrance. The forest is a wall of gray water streaming from the redwoods, the sound of rain drowning out everything else. Emma, she calls into the trees. Baby, if you can hear me, her voice breaks. The rain is cold, she's shivering. 2 years, 731 days, 17,544 hours, over 1,000,000 minutes since that Sunday call that never came. I'm still here, she says to the forest. I'm still waiting. The forest doesn't answer. Just pours rain on her until she's soaked through, until her legs give out and she sinks down right there in the mud. And that's where Sophie finds her 40 minutes later, kneeling in the parking lot, soaked and shaking and making sounds that aren't quite crying, aren't quite screaming. Detective Kimura watches from his car parked at the far end of the lot. He comes every anniversary too, watches Patricia destroy herself with hope, wishes he had something to give her. Anything. But he has nothing. That night, Sophie tries to talk to her mother about moving on, not forgetting, never forgetting, but maybe accepting. She's gone, Mom, Sophie says, crying. I don't want to say it, but it's been 3 years. Emma is gone, Ryan is gone, and you're killing yourself waiting for don't. Patricia's voice is ice. Don't you dare. Mom, the day I stop waiting is the day I accept that she's dead, and I will not do that. I will not betray my daughter by giving up on her. Sophie doesn't bring it up again. By year 3, the world has moved on. There are new missing persons cases, new tragedies, new headlines. Emma and Ryan become a footnote, a cold case. A story people vaguely remember. Oh yeah, that couple who disappeared hiking. Whatever happened with that? Nothing happened. That's what happened. But Patricia doesn't move on, can't move on. She's created a life around their absence. Every morning. And she checks missing persons databases. Every afternoon, she searches forums where people discuss cold cases. Every evening, she updates her maps, plans new search areas, coordinates with the few volunteers who still show up quarterly. And every month, she pays $9.99 for Emma's cloud storage account, keeps it active, just in case Emma's photos are there, just in case there's something she hasn't seen yet. She's scrolled through every image 1,000 times. The breakfast Emma posted that Friday morning, the trailhead selfie with Ryan and the drone, the last moments of before. Patricia pays the bill without hesitation. It's the closest thing to connection she has left. Deleting that account would feel like erasing Emma, so she pays and pays and pays. 36 months, $359.64 total. A small price for the illusion of closeness. She doesn't know that in 9 months that cloud storage account will deliver the only thing she's wanted for 3 years. Answers. Detective Kimura hasn't given up either exactly, but he's realistic. He's worked other cases, solved murders, closed files, but Emma and Ryan haunt him. Every 19th of the month he drives to that trailhead, stands at that marker, asks that question. What did I miss? He's interviewed Vaughn 7 times now. Same story every time. Same cooperative demeanor. No inconsistencies, no nervousness. Either he's innocent or he's the best liar Kimura has ever met. But liars slip eventually, they always do. Kimura is waiting for that slip. The case file is 834 pages now. Witness statements, search reports, polygraph results, timeline reconstructions, forensic analysis of the campsite, photographs of the 4Runner interior. Maps marked with search grids and nothing. No evidence of what happened past that 2-3-mile marker where the scent ended. People don't just vanish, not really. Someone always knows something. Something always gets left behind. Kimura believes that, has to believe that, because the alternative is that sometimes people just disappear into nothing and he can't accept that and still do this job. So he keeps the file, keeps visiting the trailhead, keeps asking the question. 3 years, no answers. But also no resolution, no bodies, no closure, just absence stretching into infinity. And in that absence, 4 people, Patricia, Sophie, Michael, Carmen, live in a strange purgatory, not widows, not mourners, but something worse, families of the missing, forever waiting for a phone to ring, for a door to open, for the forest to finally speak. The forest keeps its secrets, but not forever. The notification arrives at 10:34 p.m. on June 8, 2020. Sophie Torres is at her laptop in San Jose working late when her phone lights up with an email from Google. Cloud storage notification. Account nearing capacity. She almost deletes it. These automated messages come monthly, but something makes her click. Ryan's account, the one their parents kept active, paying $9.99 every month for 3 years because deleting it felt too final. Sophie is the account recovery contact. She's the one who gets the notifications. This one says, new upload complete. Ryan drone July 2017 MP4. Sophie stares at the screen, reads it again. Her hands start shaking. New upload, but that's impossible. Ryan has been missing for 1055 days. His phone is gone. His laptop is in storage at his parents' house, untouched since the police returned it. She clicks the link. The file is there. 247 GB. Upload date June 8, 2020, 10:17 p.m. What? Then she sees the note beneath, upload resumed from interrupted transfer. Original capture date July 19, 2017. Her breath stops, the drone footage. Ryan had it set to auto-upload to cloud storage over his phone's hotspot, but they lost signal in the forest. The upload started, then stalled at 47% for 3 years. And tonight, for reasons only technology can explain, the connection completed. The remaining 53% of a 3-year-old file finally pushed through. Sophie's finger hovers over the play button. Her brain is screaming warnings. What if it shows something terrible? What if it's their deaths? What if she presses play? The video opens with Ryan's face grinning at the camera. Testing, testing. July 19th, Eagle falls or bust. Emma's voice in the background, you're such a dork. Ryan panning the drone camera to show her pushing up her bun, laughing. Sophie's eyes blur with tears. They're alive on her screen, moving, talking. 3 years gone and here they are, frozen in the last moments of before. The footage cuts to aerial shots. Redwoods from above, the trail winding through green. Emma and Ryan as small figures below, backpacks on, hiking steadily. Time stamps in the corner, 10:47 a.m., 10:52 a.m., 11:15 a.m. Sophie watches them hike, watches them stop for water. Watches Emma adjust her flannel and Ryan check his controller. Normal hiking footage, beautiful but normal. Then at timestamp 12:34:18 p.m. the drone launches again, rises above the canopy, circles to capture their approach to the falls. And in the background of the frame, 300 yards behind them, a white truck, Chevy Silverado, parked on what looks like a service road. Sophie sits up straighter. Rewinds, watches again, the truck is there, definitely there. The drone circles and for 5 seconds you can see a figure standing beside it. Dark clothing, ball cap, binoculars raised. Watching Emma and Ryan, Sophie's heart hammers, she keeps watching. Timestamp 12:39:45 p.m. The drone is filming Emma and Ryan from above, capturing their progress on the trail. And they're there, following the same path 300 yards back, a person. Male from the build, moving deliberately, staying just out of their sight line, following them. Sophie grabs her phone, calls Detective Kimura. It's 11:43 p.m. She doesn't care. This is Kimura. I found something. Sophie's voice is shaking. The drone footage, it uploaded tonight. There's someone following them. There's a truck. You need to see this. Silence. Then where are you? San Jose. Send me the file now. I'm coming up. Sophie sends it at 11:47 p.m. Kimura receives it at 11:48 p.m., opens it on his laptop in his home office while his wife sleeps upstairs. He watches the full 47 minutes, watches Emma and Ryan alive and happy and oblivious, watches the white Silverado appear in frame after frame, always in the background, always at a distance, watches the figure following them using parallel trails, moving with the confidence of someone who knows this forest intimately. And at 3:17 a.m., after watching the footage 11 times, Kimura pulls out the case file and finds Vaughn's initial statement from July 28, 2017. Saw the couple heading up around 11:00, maybe 11:15. I was coming back down. Kimura looks at the timestamp on the drone footage, 12:39:45 p.m. Emma and Ryan are clearly visible, hiking toward the falls, moving up the trail, and the figure behind them is moving up as well, following, not coming down. Vaughn lied. Kimura grabs his phone, calls his sergeant. I need a warrant for Brian Vaughn, vehicle registration records, employment files, and digital forensics on all his devices. I need it now. It's 3 a.m., Jim. I know what time it is. I've been waiting 3 years for this. Get me the warrant. The sun rises on June 9, 2020, and Kimura is still at his desk. The drone footage is playing on loop on one screen. On the other, he's pulling every piece of information on Brian Vaughn he can find. Employment records show Vaughn owns a white 2015 Chevy Silverado. License plate 7 KFJ 392. The same truck visible in the drone footage. Kimura enhances a frame at 12:17 p.m., zooms in on the license plate. The resolution is poor, but he can make out 7K39. The rest is blurred, but it's close enough. He pulls Vaughn's Park Service maintenance logs. July 19, 2017, Vaughn clocked in at 7:00 a.m., clocked out at 3:47 p.m., logged work location, Eagle Falls Trail Maintenance. Maintenance on the same trail. The same day, the warrant comes through at 9:15 a.m. on June 10. Kimura and 3 officers executed at Vaughn's cabin at 11:30 a.m. Vaughn is home, cooperative as always. What's this about? We need to examine your electronic devices, Kimura says. Computer, phone, any tablets? Sure, Vaughn says easily. But why? New evidence in the Hayes Torres case. Something flickers across Vaughn's face, just for a second, but Kimura sees it. They seize his laptop, his phone, an old tablet. The digital forensics team works through the night. What they find: Instagram searches for Emma Hayes 37 times between April 2017 and July 2017. Vaughn wasn't following her publicly, but he was viewing her profile almost daily. Screenshotted 11 of her photos, all of them showing her hiking, camping, outdoors. Google searches: Eagle Falls Trail difficulty, June 2017. Cell phone coverage: 6 Rivers Forest, June 2017. How long before missing person case goes cold? July 2017. Do drones record automatically? July 20, 2017. 1 day after. Cloud storage upload interrupted, July 21, 2017. The searches from July 20-21 make Kimura's blood run cold. Vaughn knew about the drone, was researching whether it had captured anything, was checking if interrupted uploads could complete later. He knew, and he's been waiting 3 years, wondering if that footage would ever surface. In the deleted files on Vaughn's laptop, forensics recovers photos taken from inside his truck. Views of the big flat trailhead parking lot. Dated May through July 2017. 53 photos total. Watching, planning, stalking, and then they find the receipt printed from an email, Willow Creek Hardware. July 18, 2017, the day before Emma and Ryan arrived. Heavy-duty tarp $47.99. Bleach 2 gallons $8.98. Shovel $22.50. Premeditation. He bought burial supplies the night before. Kimura spreads the evidence across his desk at 2:47 a.m. on June 11. 3 years of nothing, and now in 72 hours everything. But he still doesn't know where they are. He goes back to the drone footage, frame by frame. The white Silverado appears in multiple shots between 12:34 and 12:43 p.m. Always parked on what looks like a service road running parallel to the main trail. Kimura pulls up Forest Service maps, cross-references with the drone's GPS metadata. The footage was captured at coordinates that place them approximately 4.8 miles from the trailhead, elevation 340 feet. He traces the service roads in that area. There are 3. One is paved, frequently used. One is gated and locked. The third is an old logging road, marked unmaintained on maps from the 1970s, barely visible on satellite imagery. At 6:15 a.m. on June 12, Kimura drives to 6 Rivers with a team. They locate the logging road at mile marker 4.7 on Highway 96. It's overgrown, easy to miss. You'd only know it was there if you worked in the forest or if you'd used it before. They hike in. The logging road is rough, washed out in places, but passable on foot. At 0.7 miles in, they find tire tracks. Old, weathered by 3 years of rain and snow, but still visible in the mud. Silverado width, Silverado tread pattern. Bring the K9s, Kimura radios, and ground-penetrating radar. This is it. The cadaver dogs arrive at 2:00 p.m. on August 12, 2020, 3 years and 24 days after Emma and Ryan disappeared. The team walks the logging road. The dogs work the perimeter, noses down, systematic. At 4:37 p.m., both dogs alert simultaneously at a spot beneath a cluster of redwoods 50 yards off the logging road. The ground looks undisturbed. 3 years of forest floor settling, leaf litter accumulating, vegetation growing back, natural camouflage, but the dogs know. The excavation begins at 5:00 p.m. The forensic team works carefully, documenting every layer. At 8:43 p.m., they hit the tarp, heavy-duty blue plastic, the same brand and type from the Willow Creek hardware receipt. Kimura stands at the edge of the excavation pit. His hands are shaking after 3 years, after 1,000 dead ends. After watching Patricia Hayes destroy herself with hope, finally, they are 4 feet down when they find them together, side by side, wrapped in the tarp Vaughn bought the night before he killed them, Emma still wearing her grandmother's watch. The crystal is cracked, dirt in the mechanism, but visible beneath the grime. Hand stopped at 2:17 p.m. Ryan still wearing his grandfather's ring. The University of Oregon crest dulled by earth. The forensic anthropologist works through the night, confirms identities through dental records, confirms the watch, the ring, the locket Emma wore, the engagement ring still in her backpack, wrapped in tissue paper, 3 years disintegrated but the ring intact. Confirms cause of death, blunt force trauma, both victims. Quick, the me will later determine that small, terrible mercy. At 11:52 p.m. on August 12, Detective Kimura calls Patricia Hayes. She answers on the first ring, hasn't slept, won't sleep, has been waiting for this call for 119 days. Patricia, Kimura says, his voice cracks, we found them. The sound she makes isn't quite a sob, isn't quite a gasp. Relief and horror so thoroughly mixed they become the same thing. Where? About 5 miles from where they were last seen, there's a logging road visible in the drone footage. The technology led us right to them. Patricia is silent for so long Kimura thinks the call dropped. Then, are they? They've been gone since that day, Kimura says gently. I'm so sorry, but Patricia, we're bringing them home. She cries then, finally cries. 3 years of holding it together and it all breaks at once, and Kimura stays on the phone with her, listening to her grief pour out until Sophie arrives 40 minutes later and takes the phone and says, I've got her, and Kimura hangs up and sits in his car at the excavation site and cries too. After 3 years, finally, answers. On August 13, 2020 at 6:15 a.m., Detective Kimura and 4 officers arrive at Brian Vaughn's cabin with an arrest warrant. Vaughn is eating breakfast, toast and eggs, coffee, ordinary morning. Brian Vaughn. Kimura says, you're under arrest for the murders of Emma Hayes and Ryan Torres. Vaughn sets down his fork, looks at Kimura. You found them, not a question, a statement. He's known this day might come. The drone footage, Kimura says, your truck is in every frame. The timestamp destroys your alibi, and we found the logging road, the one you parked on, the one visible in the footage. It led us right to them. Vaughn says nothing, just stands, puts his hands behind his. As they walk him to the patrol car, Kimura says, you researched whether drone footage uploads. July 20th and 21st, you knew it might be out there. You've been waiting 3 years. Vaughn meets his eyes. I thought the upload failed, thought I was safe. Technology doesn't forget, Kimura says, and neither do we. The news breaks at 9:00 a.m. Arrest made in Hayes Torres case. The story that went cold 3 years ago suddenly hot again. News crews descend on Humboldt County. Reporters stake out the Hayes and Torres homes. Patricia doesn't watch the news, doesn't answer the door, just sits in Emma's room and holds that photograph of her daughter at 16, pushing up her bun with both hands, smiling, alive. They're gone, she knew. She's always known, really. But knowing and knowing are different things. Now she knows. The funeral is September 3, 2020. 3 years, 1 month. 15 days after they went missing. Private, family only, 200 people show up anyway. The community that forgot suddenly remembers. Patricia delivers the eulogy for Emma, doesn't cry, can't, past tears, just stands at the podium and says, my daughter was 29 years old when someone took her from us. She was going to propose to the man she loved. She was going to get her PhD. She was going to change the world in the small, important ways that most people never notice. Instead, she's in a box. There is no justice that fixes this, no verdict that brings her back, but there is witnessing, there is remembering, there is refusing to let her be forgotten. Emma Charlotte Hayes was here, she mattered, she still matters. She sits down. Michael Torres gives Ryan's eulogy, says the same things in different words, the same grief, the same refusal to forget. They bury them side by side. Patricia places the engagement ring on Emma's casket. She would have said yes, Patricia whispers. The trial is set for March 2021. The trial begins on March 15, 2021 in Humboldt County Superior Court. The courtroom is packed, media in the back rows, sketch artists in the front. Patricia Hayes sits in the second row behind the prosecution table, Sophie beside her. Michael and Carmen Torres across the aisle. Detective Kimura against the left wall. They've waited 3 years and 8 months for this. Brian Vaughn sits at the defense table in a gray suit, neutral expression. He's 45 now, looks older. 3 years of waiting for this day too, wondering if the footage would surface, if the bodies would be found, if the technology would betray him. It did. The prosecutor, Jessica Chen, no relation to Detective Kimura, stands for opening statements. 38 years old. Never lost a murder trial. She's been preparing for 6 months. On July 19, 2017, she begins. Emma Hayes and Ryan Torres went for a hike. They were in love. They were planning a future. Emma had an engagement ring in her backpack. She was going to propose that evening at Eagle Falls. They never made it because Brian Vaughn had been watching Emma for months, stalking her online, photographing the trailhead, planning. And on July 19, he followed them into the forest with a tarp and bleach he'd bought the night before, with intent, with premeditation, with murder in his heart. And he thought he got away with it. For 3 years he thought he was safe, but here's what Mr. Vaughn didn't know. Ryan Torres was flying a drone that day, and that drone was recording everything. She pauses, lets that sink in. You're going to see 47 minutes of footage. You're going to watch Emma and Ryan alive and happy. And you're going to see Brian Vaughn following them, stalking them, hunting them, frame by frame by frame. The technology he thought he'd beaten became the witness he couldn't silence. The defense attorney, a public defender named Robert Martinez, doing his best with an impossible case, argues reasonable doubt, argues the footage is inconclusive, argues the timeline could fit multiple interpretations, but juries aren't stupid, and the evidence is overwhelming. On March 17, the prosecution plays the drone footage. The courtroom goes silent. 47 minutes of Emma and Ryan projected on screens, walking, laughing. Emma pushing up her bun with both hands, that gesture Patricia knows so well she can identify her daughter from 100 yards away by that movement alone. Ryan spinning his ring, adjusting his backpack, checking his drone controller. They're so alive on that screen, so present, so unaware. And then, timestamp 12:39:45 p.m., the white Silverado in the background, the figure following. The slow, methodical stalking captured from above. Patricia watches the jury watching her daughter die in slow motion, watches them see what Emma and Ryan couldn't see, the danger closing in. Several jurors are crying. One has his hand over his mouth. Brian Vaughn stares at the table, doesn't watch, can't watch himself being caught. After the footage ends, the prosecutor calls Patricia to the stand. Mrs. Hayes, Chen says gently, "Can you identify the woman in that footage?" "My daughter, Emma." Patricia's voice is steady. "How can you be certain? The footage is taken from a significant distance." Patricia stands, walks to the monitor, rewinds to timestamp 11:03:47, Emma adjusting her backpack, then reaching up with both hands simultaneously to push her bun into place. This, Patricia says, demonstrates the gesture, both hands, simultaneous motion, exactly like Emma. This was Emma's signature gesture. She did it 1,000 times a day. I could identify my daughter by this alone. The courtroom is silent. Only Emma pushed up her bun like this, 2 hands both at once. I've been her mother for 29 years. I know how my daughter moves. She sits back down. The jury has seen it now, not just video but recognition, not just evidence, but a mother identifying her child's final movements. On March 22, the Me testifies, describes the watch found on Emma's wrist. Stopped at 2:17 p.m., describes the blunt force trauma, quick deaths at least. Emma first, then Ryan seconds later. The watch is entered into evidence. Patricia sees it for the first time since the excavation, clean now, preserved in plastic, the hands still frozen at 2:17. Time stopped for Emma. Kept going for everyone else. On March 29, the digital forensics expert testifies, walks the jury through Vaughn's Instagram stalking. 37 searches for Emma Hayes between April and July 2017. Screenshots saved. Photos of her hiking, camping, smiling. The Google searches displayed on screen. Eagle Falls Trail difficulty. Cell phone coverage 6 Rivers Forest. How long before missing person case goes cold? Do drones record automatically? Cloud storage upload interrupted. The jury sees it. The planning, the consciousness of guilt. The 3-year wait wondering if the footage would surface. On April 5, the hardware store manager testifies, identifies the receipt. July 18, 2017. Tarp. Bleach. Shovel. The next day, Emma and Ryan disappeared. Premeditation. Proven. The defense calls no witnesses. Vaughn doesn't testify. What could he say? The drone footage destroys every lie. Closing arguments happen on April 19. The prosecutor is brief. The evidence speaks for itself. Brian Vaughn stalked, hunted, and murdered Emma Hayes and Ryan Torres. The drone caught him. The technology proved it. Justice demands accountability. The defense attorney does his job. The prosecution hasn't proven beyond reasonable doubt that, but even he sounds unconvinced. The jury deliberates for 4 hours. Patricia sits in the hallway. Sophie brings her water she doesn't drink. Michael paces. Carmen prays. At 4:23 p.m. on April 23, 2021, the jury returns. The courtroom fills. Patricia's heart hammers so hard she feels dizzy. 4 years. Almost 4 years since that Sunday call that never came. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. The foreman stands, 62 years old, retired teacher, father of 3 daughters. He's been crying, his voice shakes. In the matter of the people versus Brian Vaughn, count 1, murder in the first degree of Emma Charlotte Hayes, how do you find? Silence, the entire world holding its breath. Guilty. Patricia closes her eyes. Sophie grabs her hand. Count 2, murder in the first degree of Ryan Michael Torres, how do you find? Guilty. The courtroom erupts, not cheers, this isn't that kind of victory, but exhaled breath, crying, the sound of tension finally breaking. Brian Vaughn shows no reaction, just stares straight ahead. Patricia feels nothing and everything. Relief, rage, grief, satisfaction, emptiness, all of it at once, so thoroughly mixed it's just pressure, like her chest might crack open. Sentencing is set for June 7, 2021. On that morning, Patricia stands at the podium to deliver her victim impact statement. She's written 17 pages, reads none of them, just speaks. For 3 years and 10 months I waited. I waited for a phone call. I waited for answers. I waited for my daughter to come home. She came home in a box. Brian Vaughn took my daughter's future, took her PhD, took her career, took the family she would have had, took grandchildren I'll never meet, took 50 more years of Sunday phone calls. He took Ryan's future too, took his novel, took his life with Emma, took his parents' son, and he took our futures because we don't get to move on, we don't get to heal, we get to carry this forever. People ask me if this verdict brings closure. It doesn't. Closure suggests an ending. This isn't an ending, this is just justice, accountability. The truth witnessed and confirmed. But I can breathe now. For the first time in almost 4 years I can breathe. She sits down, doesn't cry, past crying. Michael Torres speaks next, says the same grief in different words. Carmen can't speak, just holds Ryan's photograph and sobs. The judge, Superior Court Judge Maria Delgado, addresses Vaughn directly. Mr. Vaughn, you have been found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances. The jury has recommended the maximum sentence, and this court concurs. On count 1, murder of Emma Hayes, life in prison without the possibility of parole. On count 2, murder of Ryan Torres, life in prison without the possibility of parole. Additionally, 30 years for the special circumstances of stalking, premeditation, and use of a deadly weapon. You will spend the rest of your natural life in prison. You will die there. And may you spend every day of that life remembering what you took. Vaughn is led away in handcuffs, doesn't look back. Patricia watches him disappear through the side door. 4 years, finally over, not over, never over, but done. Outside, reporters ask Patricia how she feels. She looks at them like they've spoken a foreign language. How do you feel? As if there are words for this. She doesn't answer, just gets in the car where Sophie is waiting. The Hayes-Torres Act passes the California legislature on October 12, 2021. Requires all wilderness permits to include emergency GPS beacon information. Mandates that cloud storage companies cannot delete accounts of missing persons for 10 years. pushes for expanded cell coverage in national forests. Technology that saves, technology that solves, technology that remembers when people forget. Emma and Ryan's names on a bill. A legacy they never intended, but one that will save lives. On July 19, 2022, 5 years after the disappearance, 300 people hiked to Eagle Falls for a memorial dedication. Patricia, Sophie, the Torres family, Detective Kimura, volunteers who searched, strangers who followed the case. The plaque is bronze, simple, beautiful. In memory of Emma Charlotte Hayes and Ryan Michael Torres. July 19, 2017, they came to this forest to celebrate love. They are remembered here with love. May all who pass walk safely and return home. Patricia touches the bronze, traces Emma's name with her fingertips. Sophie stands beside her, arm around her mother's shoulders. She's not lost anymore, Sophie whispers. Patricia nods, can't speak. The sky is clear, the kind of perfect day Emma loved. The falls cascade behind them, eternal, indifferent, beautiful. Life continues. The forest grows, hikers pass, some stop to read the plaque, some don't. The world moves on, but Patricia doesn't move on, learns to move forward, which is different, starts volunteering with families of missing persons, helps them navigate the hell she lived through, becomes the voice that says, I know, I survived it, you will too. Detective Kimura retires in 2023. The Hayes-Torres case was his last. He visits the plaque once a year on July 19th, stands there, remembers, what did I miss? Nothing, it turns out. The drone saw everything. In Patricia's living room, there's a shadow box on the wall. Inside, Emma's grandmother's watch. Cleaned, preserved, hand still stopped at 2:17 p.m. The engagement ring Emma never got to use. A photo of Emma and Ryan at the trailhead, July 19, 2017, smiling, alive, unaware. And a small bronze plaque matching the one at Eagle Falls. Patricia looks at it every day. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't, both are okay. Emma Charlotte Hayes was 29 years old when someone took her from the world. She was going to change it in small, important ways. She was going to propose to the man she loved. She was going to keep calling her mother every Sunday at 6:00 p.m. for the next 50 years. Instead, she's a memory. A plaque. A watch with stopped hands. A law that bears her name. It's not enough, will never be enough, but it's what remains. And in the end, that's what justice looks like. Not restoration, but accountability. Not healing, but witness. Not closure, but the refusal to forget. Emma Hayes was here, she mattered, she still matters. And her story, like all stories of lives taken too soon, is both ended and still unfolding in everyone she left behind.